just what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if...
Welcome everyone, this is Lyman, producer with IT Unity, and I'd like to welcome everyone to Office 365 Pulse with Jennifer Ann Mason, number 6. Take it away, Jennifer.
Hey guys, it's Jennifer. It is fun to be with you guys today. I have Ben. Let's see, he is my wonderful guest host. You guys might recognize him from the collab talk that usually happens on IT Unity. So we have got that. I think, Lyman, can we change layout so I can present my sway? Awesome. Cool. All right, we will start my screen sharing now. Hope you guys are having a good week. As always, you guys can pop your questions into the chat window, and Ben and I will answer them as they come up. So we have a sway today that we're going to talk through some of the crazy changes that have come with Office 365, although this week is like last week was kind of boring. This week the changes are really boring. But then Ben and I are going to talk about groups. So Ben, do you want to give a little intro of yourself? Tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Pulse today. And thanks for inviting me, Jen. Really happy to be here. My name is Benjamin Niaulin, SharePoint MVP, and I work at ShareGate, migration management tool. And really excited to talk to Boo about groups today.
He's from Canada.
I am from Canada, indeed.
That's awesome. ShareGate is an amazing tool, so if you guys have not checked it out, you guys should. It's one of the tools that I use probably daily doing random tasks across different places. So I think I met Ben when I started using ShareGate, and we've kind of been friends now for a few years, see each other randomly all over the place.
All over.
Kind of where, all over the... Have we seen each other all over the world? I don't know if I've run into you over the ocean yet or not, but it's quite possible. I don't know. But yeah, so I know Ben from the community. He's one of those great guys that's out there. So definitely have any questions about anything, send them our way. So, okay, today's sway. We get to go through and talk about some fun stuff. Message Center updates. I thought this one was fun. We have now heard for a few months that Link is becoming Skype for Business, and it's going to be a rebranding type effort where it's going to happen. It hit the Message Center that said in 90 days they're going to be switching to the Link online experience is going to go to Skype for Business. So it came under one of the plan for changes buttons, but they didn't really give us a lot of things we were supposed to plan for. So had you heard anything about this, Ben, or do you know much, any details about any of this one?
I was exactly about to ask you is, I mean, I've seen it, but what does it mean? Does the box that says Link going to change to Skype for Business and just continue as is, or am I getting tons of new features? Am I supposed to deploy another? Definitely not have a lot of information on their defense. I haven't researched everywhere, just saw the message. But yeah, it's interesting. How does that play out?
Yeah, so Lyman, if you want to pull over our first poll, because we're going to ask how people feel about the Skype for Business change. But I don't know, like, the thing that got me is it's a new client. So does that mean, like, are we going to be prompted for an upgrade of the client, and the client's going to just come out and say, okay, now it's a new client, and there we go, we're ready to go? Is it something that we have to download? I'm going to, behind the scenes, I'm going to send a message to the Message Center people and say, what the heck? You can't tell us to plan for change, but then you don't describe at all what the changes are going to be. So does that mean plan for stress? What does that mean? So hopefully more details will come, but I haven't really heard anything thing. I saw the 90 days and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. But I wasn't a big fan of a category of plan for change, but no details as to what that meant.
Yeah. Well, it's not like you have a couple of thousands of users to update this for.
Yeah, exactly. No one's using it, right?
No, I think it'll be difficult.
Yeah, so that was interesting. So we will dig around for the Pulse listeners that come and check us out. We will dig around and see if we can get more details on that and possibly give you guys an update in the next little bit. They had a thing with additional details, but it just pointed to it pointed to the what's the like a TechNet article that kind of explained what it was and showed a screenshot, which I thought was kind of cool. Guess what? It looks just like Skype. It's fine. I mean, I don't think it's really any changes. I don't think from a usability standpoint, I don't think people are going to freak out. I think from a standpoint of how is it going to be deployed and what changes are going to happen and what's that experience going to be like, I would want to know that so I could plan for my users and at least educate them. But so far right now, the only guidance we've been given is plan to plan. So we'll keep digging into that, seeing what happens. All right. The next one that we have, this is another fun one. I was talking to Mark Anderson about this on Twitter today, and he laughed and said, oh, this won't impact anybody. Nobody uses it. So we kind of laughed. This is another one that hit the message center, and I thought it was pretty cryptic. This definitely goes out of the realm of syntax and semicolons, right? So this one definitely includes syntax and semicolons. But if you are using Microsoft Dynamics CRM and you're using Chrome, you're about to have a pain point if you update to Chrome, I guess version 37 and above. So Ben, what's your browser of choice?
Well, we've discussed this a little bit. I'm probably going to be put on the spot, but I am running a Mac. So I do not have any of the usual browsers that people are probably used to. I use what comes usually with the box. So if I had Windows, I used to use Internet Explorer. I'm on a Mac, I use Safari. I'm not very picky. If I can browse the web, then I'm okay.
I've gotten pretty funny with browsers lately. IE used to be my go-to browser, and I'm pretty sure that I bleed blue if you cut me. I'm pretty sure I'm like Microsoft's biggest fangirl. But something happened around IE 9 or 10 that it just stopped working in ways that like tripped me up that would make everything take a few more seconds. So now I typically start in IE, but if it's not going fast enough, I open Firefox. And then if I get really annoyed, I open Chrome. So it's very interesting. I kind of run, and now I'm to a point since I started doing that, I probably run Firefox and IE equally, and Chrome I probably open up 1 or 2 times a week. But I'm amazed at how they pretty much work across all of them. So it's I think Firefox, I'm starting to like that one. I guess we have the new IE, whatever, Spartan or whatever newness is coming.
Well, it looks pretty cool. It definitely looks cool from the presentations, but for me, I mean, in the world of, ever since we switched to, in the world of SharePoint specifically, 2013, Office, everything works for me essentially with any browser. So I know that there are many people that use different browsers, but as long as I can get what I need done, then I'm fine.
Yeah, it's getting much better. So that's kind of one of the new changes or their new mentality of pushing all of that out. I actually really like it. But the Chrome issue that's coming, right? Like, so if you're using Chrome and Dynamics CRM, you're going to have to do an update to Dynamics CRM in order for it to keep working correctly. It looks like what is coming, as far as I can tell, some of the dialog pop-ups that come up are no longer going to be supported in Chrome, in versions of Chrome higher than 37. So it looks like you're going to have to patch or fix CRM. So that's just kind of a heads up. I kind of mentioned it on the show so that if anyone is using Dynamics CRM internally, they can ping their IT folks and say, the sky might be falling. Help me fix this. It only mentions Chrome, or I'm sorry, it only mentions CRM. So hopefully this isn't going to impact SharePoint or anything like that. I know SharePoint's got some dialog boxes too. So I wondered when I read this, is this the same type of dialog box? Is it the same type of issue? But they could be done different. And we'll keep watching the message center to see if anything else comes up. But it looks like it's just CRM. So a pretty uneventful couple of days in the message center, which is always good. I got so I've kind of been cheating the system. The other one that I got in the message center, but that I didn't share with anybody because it's just relevant to me. I upgraded my tenant from 2010 to 2013, but I wanted to still be able to demo in 2010 sites. So I've delayed upgrading my sites as long as I possibly can. And I got like the nastygram in the message center that says, no, really, Jennifer, you are not allowed to delay this anymore. Everything will be on 2013. And then it gave me a certain date. And I was like, oh, man, no more can I do that. So I thought it was kind of funny. But that's kind of all that hit the message center. So a relatively quiet week in the land of Office 365, which has been kind of fun. But I like that. So good stuff there. Yeah, so Dan put a comment in the chat window that it's possible that some SharePoint devs might have used the show modal dialog API thing. So it'll be interesting to see if we start to have more Chrome SharePoint issues and see if anything's happening there. So that will be interesting. I think we're going to just have to watch it and see. I don't know if they're two different APIs. Ben, do you happen to do any custom code against Microsoft CRM?
Yeah, I don't even do any custom coding, so I'll just stop it there.
You're about the same with me. Like, I am actually allergic to syntax and semicolons, so it just doesn't happen. So
I just learned how to separate them in English. Is a colon is the 2 dots, and a semicolon is half the 2 dots. Semi. That's my trick. I'm definitely not coding with it.
That's an awesome trick, though. That might be what I can work with my 9-year-old as I'm teaching him in grammar and English and different things like that. That's kind of funny. That's kind of awesome. Oh, the devs would just be shaking their heads at us right now. That's okay. There's more of us in the world than there are of them. I love it. Okay, so a new section that I added to the Sway this time. I haven't done this before, but I found a customer story that came out this week that I kind of read it, and it was like a little light bulb went off in my head, which is why we have the nice little Sway light bulb here. And I just thought, wow, that's like really cool. Like I've talked to people about that. I have seen some of those different things, and when they actually like put numbers out in the case study, I was like, I had a few what the heck moments. So this one I need to go back and add a link to this, but this is on the Office blogs, and they put up, it was the 3M customer story. And Steve, which is like the IT director or the VP, I hope I'm not messing up his title, the really important guy at 3M that does all of the IT stuff, wrote the case study. He kind of was quoting as like Office 365 is all about making decisions faster and improving the speed at which we can do business. And they talked about in the article how they had different systems, and everybody would kind of go purchase off the shelf whatever system was working for them for collaboration and communication. And I thought, okay, that makes sense. There's a lot of different organizations that do that. They empower their users to pick different things. But then it was interesting when he switched to talking about their solution for all of it. Their solution for all of it was enabling a better Office experience and giving everyone access to OneNote. And so their answer to communication and collaboration and issues with different tools, one of their big answers was just Office and OneNote. And I was like, well, I kind of thought that was interesting and very telling with the tools that people are using. So they also had a big sales force that's disconnected, right? So they had to use a lot of mobile apps and different things like that. So they had different things like that. So I thought that one was pretty cool. But a couple of things that I just thought were super interesting is that instead of doing a mass upgrade, they did click to run and installed the newest version of Office side by side with Office 2007, which basically let their users pick and choose. If you wanted to stay in Office 2007 and you didn't want to go to 2013, I mean, I guess you could have. I don't know if they'll have stragglers that will keep going in Office 2007. But they deployed that. And I just thought that was kind of neat how they did that. Have you run into any other orgs that have taken on a stance of doing both of them at the same time, or anybody in the audience, if you guys have experienced any of these, please chime in.
Well, it's very, very interesting approach. I think the whole OneNote too is it's something I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen before. I've seen going to Office 365 and taking up Office to do the. But this is interesting. You said, where was this, on Office 365 blog?
Yeah, this is on the Office blog. And I hope I didn't call it OneNote. I meant OneDrive. So pushing everybody to OneDrive with sharing data, which is
Okay, that changes. Sorry, I was reading your post. Yeah. Okay, my bad. So that changes everything a bit. I see one of the things you that's mentioned in the customer story is, and that's what I was trying to calculate at the same time. For 10,000 active users, they already have about 9 terabytes of data, and they're focusing on OneDrive. I am assuming OneDrive for Business.
Yeah.
That's what, over a gig per person or something, or
yeah. And then what's insane is they're growing. Yeah, a half a terabyte a week. Like, what the heck?
It's personally, I guess, maybe it's because I come from SharePoint, and maybe I need to change or evolve the thinking. But for me, OneDrive, and I have a blog post coming up very soon on that, because as a migration software, I keep getting customers contacting us and say, we're migrating to OneDrive for Business. And I said, well, what do you mean you're migrating from OneDrive for Business? They said, we're taking our file shares, we're taking them to OneDrive for Business. And it doesn't make much sense to me, because for me, it's still a personal, if you don't want to say it's the new My Site, it's still a personal perspective on the documents you work with, and that you can store as well. But they still belong in groups or in team sites, or in places for interesting. And I think it's more on the misunderstanding of it. What if the user leaves the company?
Yeah, but
interesting.
I mean, it's like this is, for years we've been trying to take a file server and get it to a new solution. And maybe like OneDrive is just the path of least resistance. And like, they understand it's my folder, mine.
Less costly, I think. Yeah, because I think each user has 1 terabyte, and it's soon going to be unlimited if that's what they announce. And then when you look at your own storage, you get, I forget what it is. It's maybe 10 gigs plus 500 megs per user. So when you're looking at a large enterprise, you have, on one hand, you have 10 gigs and 500 megs per person. And then on the other hand, you've got, unlimited storage, but that's personal. So where do people store it and share? And it's dangerous. It's dangerous for me.
It is. It is going to be interesting, and we're going to just watch people make a mess. But the other thing that's interesting to me is, like, OneDrive for Business. Now, I'm a big fan, and I am going to push people to use OneDrive for Business, but I'm going to push them to use it understanding what the experience is going to be like, going through and testing it, making sure the syncing is going to work for them in a way that works with how they work. And I know there are some companies out there right now that have some pretty significant syncing issues and just have run into issues with OneDrive. And so to me, it's interesting that this company has, like, they are all in, and they are growing at, like, a half a terabyte a week. Like, I just can't, like, imagine the cost savings. Like, if they were not in Office 365, and they were still growing at a half a terabyte a week. Imagine the cost for their own data centers and backend structures and different things. Like, holy cats, like, that's a lot of growth. Like, and so I read that, and I was like, what? Well, like, this is a Microsoft case study, which means legal looked at it, which means
they approved.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think perhaps in some ways Office 365 is maybe a couple of years ahead of its time, and hopes that things like Delve, because I hear that from customers too. It's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter where you put documents anymore. Delve's going to find it for you. Well, hold on a second. You still need some kind of, and what I use usually is I try to make a reference to the My Documents or home folders. It said, my first question to you when I get calls about migrating to OneDrive for Business is, if we replace the word OneDrive for Business with migrating to people's My Documents on their computer, does it still make sense? Is this what you're doing? And if not, if you're not migrating home folders, or you're not migrating these personal folders, then you still need to be looking at team sites, or a place that is not owned by an individual user, but really owned by the organization entity. I would think so. And again, maybe I'm stuck in the old ways. I don't know.
Yeah, it is interesting. So I thought that was fun. And then you compound all of it together with their statements of, we didn't see any need to do training because we looked at it and we thought people would just figure it out. And guess what? They did. And I was kind of like, I love this. I'm going to use this at my next major company that I'm trying to do. I'm like, see, you just install it. You let people do it. It can grow by terabytes. Don't worry. They'll get it. I thought it was awesome.
That is very, very interesting. And it's not a small, company. It's a big one. All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, originally I thought you said OneNote, so I didn't think too much of it, but I was reading it and I was waiting for that part with OneDrive. I was waiting for you to get there. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, OneNote and OneDrive, I hope I didn't say them wrong, but sometimes, like, I don't know, Drive One, Drive Note, whatever, like, they're all there, right? Like, so I'm mixing it all together. Oops. Craziness. Crazy. So I thought that customer story was just really cool. I love it. Dan is asking if this is going to segue into groups, and yes, it totally will. As we get back to groups, we'll just add another bit of confusion to all of this, and it's just funny. So I thought that was awesome, and as we see more stories come up every week that we think are awesome, we'll kind of keep putting them out there so that you guys can get access to them and kind of see examples of different things. So crazy. Okay, well, on to features and updates. This isn't nearly as exciting. It's kind of okay, but yeah, cool. So there's a Visio series that I guess a partner has been doing, and so there is a whole collection of webcasts that you can get to go do more with Visio. Visio 2013 is a very interesting beast because I think it is totally underutilized and people don't realize the power that's there. So this is one of those series that can kind of point to it. Do you do much with Visio, Ben?
Can't say that I do. No, to be honest, I mean, I used to use it quite a bit, but I just haven't needed to do those diagrams anymore that much from what I do, and I have little tools like Xmind and similar other tools that are similar, and I don't know what happened. I just started using those. I love Visio from what I've been doing in the past and really enjoy it. Plus, combined with Sharepoint and Visio Services is definitely awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty cool set. So if you're looking to do things that you can do with Visio Services and SharePoint, definitely check out this webcast. I think there was like 10 or 15 of them. So if they're an hour or so a piece, that's 10 or 15 hours of content. So good stuff that's there. The next big announcement, and I will try to keep this very small because on the feedback every week, people tell me that I'm too excited about the Microsoft Ignite conference. So I'll try to not be overly excited, but get yourself registered. It's going to be awesome. Ben, are you doing any sessions at Ignite?
I wish, but no, not this time. I'll definitely be there. I wouldn't miss it. I'm just as excited as you. I had already imagined. So this time they won't complain about you being too excited. It'll be me. Don't worry about it. I'm very, very excited. I thought about the keynotes and, changing the way we work and how it would be with Office 5 experiences combined with SharePoint 2016 and hybrid scenarios. I'm already getting excited. I know it's going to be lots of fun, so I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yes, I am super excited. So I found out last week that they tagged Asif and I for a session. So Asif and I are actually doing in the developer track, believe it or not, they did one no-code solution session. So Sonia asked, Sonia asked Asif and I to do it, and so we're building robust no-code solutions. So it will be syntax and semicolon free.
Congratulations.
So, well, thank you. So that's gonna be super fun. So I'm super excited about that. And then also on a panel with Christian Buckley, Laura Rogers, and Dan Holmes. So it's gonna be super fun. And I think they knew that the four of us can talk way too much about everything because they titled the panel SharePoint this, that, and anything in between. Just ask anything you want is pretty much what the panel was. And I was like, all right, whatever, we'll roll with it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you have not registered for Ignite, you should totally go and do that. It's going to be awesome. And we're going to have a blast. I know it. So super excited about that. And I think I'm going to have Asif come on and we're going to do a preview for you guys of what our show, what our content's going to be. So it's going to be really cool. So even if you can't be there, we'll give you some insider tips. And that one's it. And so the next update was making Clutter even better. So we were talking about this before it started. Neither Ben or I use Clutter for our work email. So we have only seen this one from the perspective of really cool demos, but beyond a demo, it's really hard to see how this would actually be working. But they've added some administrative features to it, which basically allow retention, and it allows administrators to, the first one I thought was funny, is it allows administrators to bypass Clutter, which makes me think there was probably like some email that was really important that just kept going into everyone's junk because it hit too many buzzwords probably. I can only imagine, like, if Clutter was on our work mailboxes, I could see that happening. You know, the announcements that they want everyone to read that are 10 pages long and have the same words over and over. Oh, wait, we don't get those for iWork. They're all really awesome information. But now they can, I guess, whitelist it so that the email from the CIO will always go to everyone's desk and different things along those lines. So pretty cool there, and you can do retention tags. So I don't have much more to add to that one about Clutter. I don't know if you have anything. I'm sure those are things that administrators wished were included in the first rev, so they're very happy now to see it in the next rev. Yeah.
I don't have that much to say. Like, I don't know, maybe someone in the room, in the chat box, but Clutter, I don't want to say something about something that I don't actually use for sure.
Yeah, so the updates are there. I guess we can say that Office 365 is so big that not one company is going to use all the pieces about it. I think Dan in the chat room, we can get him to chime in, and he can talk a little bit about Clutter because he's actually been using it. So, Dan, do you have your mic on? Did you join us?
Yeah, I did. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll be the ghost guest here. I'm sitting in rainy Hawaii in a t-shirt, so I'm going to pass on turning on the webcam. But yeah, I use Clutter for my email, for one of my primary email accounts, and the changes they made, particularly the one about rules, are very welcome. I'm actually really impressed with Clutter. I turned it on with some trepidation, but it's done a great job of trimming my inbox and making my inbox more actionable. But Clutter, as most people might know, is powered by Office Graph. So unlike junk mail, which is really sort of purely rules-driven, Clutter is Office Graph driven, which means it learns as you do things. And as you start dragging things from Clutter back into your inbox, for example, it learns the patterns and changes where mail goes the next time. But I think you hit the nail on the head. What was happening, even in my case, was there were some messages going in there that really, when it first fired up, and for the first couple of weeks, there were messages going in there that really shouldn't have, because it just hadn't learned. And so this is basically giving administrators a way to seed learning into the engine. I'm thrilled that it's doing that, and I hope that this is also a learning experience for Microsoft across all of Office Graph, giving us potentially some controls to help seed the engine's understanding of who a new employee is or what a new technology does.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And I think the system messages is an interesting one. I think that one is really for the Kathy Dews of the world who want to ensure that the system is personalized for the organization. So that when Clutter first appears, you get a message that says Clutter's on, and now you can add your logo. That seems kind of like a throwaway to me, but I know it's important to a lot of organizations. And then retention policies is good for all of the information management folks.
So I have one very important question, Dan. Does email that I send to you go to the actionable inbox, or does it go to Clutter?
It goes to junk mail, Jen.
Good answer. Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm hoping I'll get some more real world experience with Clutter. I mean, it sounds amazing and it sounds like something that I want to use, but until I have a very active inbox with it there, I just don't think it will give me a ton of value. So it'll be very interesting, and it will be interesting to see, since it's powered by Office Graph, is any of that hybridish stuff hybridish, I'm pretty sure is not a word. Is any of that hybrid stuff going to be coming out at Ignite that is going to allow maybe some of those Clutter type features back on-prem? I mean, all very interesting spaces to watch. To watch and see, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely agree, yeah.
Yeah, cool. And the last update that we have is that Sway has been busily adding new updates to make the presentations better. The Sway team and I have been talking on Twitter all day today because I'm pretty confident that I broke Sway. I was getting correlation IDs and all sorts of fun stuff this morning in the preview state, so I thought that was kind of funny. But we got it up and running, and we have a show here, and they were really responsive on Twitter, so that was kind of cool. Trying to dig down and see what in the world I had done to break it, but I broke Sway. But lots of new updates to it today that allow you to sync with OneNote, interactive photo options that are supposedly going to let us do like a carousel through it, which is really cool, but that's coming in like the next day or so. So they're like, here's these great changes, and these two have rolled, and then here are the other ones that are coming in the next day or so. And I was like, but I want them today. So hopefully soon we'll see those. But do you use Sway at all, Ben?
I actually do sometimes. To be honest, it depends. I find it has its use, and depending on, I don't know how to say it, my French is coming instead of the English, but essentially what I'm trying to say is that Sway is awesome, and it has specific scenarios, like right now where we have this little presentation, and then you can put it on a website, embed it, send it quickly. I really, really enjoy Sway, and I think it's going to be something to watch, especially in the coming months, to see it evolve and maybe taking part into our business a little bit more than it is right now. I'm really looking forward to seeing Sway evolve right now. I know you're a master of it. Everything I see you do is definitely come from Sway. It's really cool.
Well, it's interesting. I'm using it for certain use cases now. I really like it for this type of presentation where we're talking fluidly. People can follow along, see it. I really like it.
Yeah.
I like it a little bit for, I guess, what's the, presentations, but it's also a little bit harder because sometimes I want to be able to control with PowerPoint and do animations and different things like that. And so it's interesting. So I use it every week for the Sway presentations for this show, and so I do one every week, and it's perfect. I really enjoy doing it. I haven't done it much for anything internal because, to be perfectly honest, most of the internal presentations that I work on are internal information only, and it's not necessarily an approved system per se that I'm using. So I usually do still PowerPoint and different things like that. But as we get out to doing some more customer presentations and things I want to share with people, I think it's a fun. There's still some styling things that drive me a little bit nuts. Like I wish I could resize images and stuff like that. So hopefully it comes along, but I like it for some things. So, but it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. I think it's very different. I don't think we should look at changing or replacing our presentations necessarily, but you know, they're coming out with these words in Office 365. So I'm trying to use the same word, but you know, creating stories, just opening it up, write a story with images, maybe some links, and people can read your story. But that could be a business, that could be a small presentation, that could be a use case, like anything that you want to tell. I think is very interesting. So I still do presentations, I still do PowerPoint, I'll use Keynote, but this is definitely very fun in different scenarios.
Yeah, so Dan asked, what things would you still use PowerPoint over Sway for? To be perfectly honest, my go-to is still usually PowerPoint. I mean, for conferences and stuff like that, people always want their stuff done in a presentation that people can download and that people could use. So maybe we can get one of the conferences to do it. So hint, IT Unity, maybe if you guys put on a digital conference or something like that, or ever go down that route, maybe you could ask people to put together Sways, and then you guys would be the first conference to be powered by Sway. Hint, I think you should totally do that.
On the flip side, doing presentations, I think it's still important to have the, you know, when I do presentations, I try to make them visual, and I need to be able to control every aspect of what I'm putting on there. And Sway is more, I need to write something quickly, and I need people to consume it quickly. I'll put an image, put bullets, put links, and let's go. And that's perfect. Whereas PowerPoint, or, you know, that's really a presentation. I'm going to be in front of 100, somewhat 200 people, and I need the, you know, the shadow to go a little bit there. I need that to pop on the side. So that's my difference between the two.
And I'm hoping they get to that point. Like right now, I have to be careful with where I put my images. Like even for this one where I had the 4 images on the screen, if I had these in a different order, it totally displayed it differently, but it looked like really bad. So I had to move them around to do it. But what's awesome is like some of the features show up in the coming soon areas of Sway that I just can't select it yet. So I'm hoping that I'm hoping that it continues to evolve and keep getting there. But I'm kind of with you. If there's a professional element of quality, that sounds bad, because I think this does have a quality to it, but it's also not like, it's different. It's fast, it's quick, it's fluid. That's kind of when I'm using Sway. I love it. So awesome. So then now we get to segue into groups. And this is a fun, we have about 20 minutes left. This is a fun topic because, well, I love groups. And I know Ben loves groups. And they're all part of this new thing called experiences. And like, there could be a game where you could just find like Ben or I in public and mention experiences and like watch us light up and get excited about all the new stuff that's coming, because these are those. So I'm super excited to have Ben here to talk about groups. I think I'm going to give you the floor for just a couple of minutes and let you kind of give some of your quick high-level overview thoughts of groups so I don't steal all your thunder.
All right. Well, no, yeah, absolutely right. And first, it's funny because the way that it happened, and just to recap, because not everyone is necessarily up to date with groups. Groups for Office 365 is something that has arrived recently, that was announced, and I gotta stop reading the chat. that it was something that was announced by Microsoft for Office 365, and essentially it's the first. Well, it's not the first time, but where we see Microsoft taking pieces of different technologies, in this case Azure, Exchange, and SharePoint, putting it together in a certain way that makes sense for us to consume. And that's what I really enjoy. The groups is, quickly, to recap the aspects that it covers, is conversations, calendars, files, and what's the other one? There was some people, I think. People. It doesn't matter. Conversation, notebook. There it is. So essentially, the first time that I saw it, this Office 365 groups, I thought, whoa! I was really taken aback. I felt like that person that doesn't want the change to come. And I said, well, no, I have team sites and I have Yammer groups, so you take it back, and I don't want it. And then I looked at it, and said, well, what if I'm not using team sites? And then I thought to myself, and I looked at my colleagues and friends, and I'm like, let's be real. Let's be real. How many customers of ours are actually sitting down, and I'm not saying everyone, but sitting down, creating the libraries, putting the columns, putting the metadata, filling out the mortgage every time they're pulling a new document in the forms, and and it's the whole process and the whole thing, the SharePoint calendar. I mean, it was too bad because we wanted the Outlook calendar, which I loved, emails, which was still fine, Yammer conversation, but then no, you had to be either in one of them. You had to choose. So I'm very excited to see all of that, and we've been using all over the place here at our office, and we have a customer of ours who's gotten into it, and it's not mature. If I can go out and say there's still some things that I was like, oh, okay. So it's not completely matured, but I am definitely excited. And when the last thing I'll say, because I know I talk too much, Jan, but essentially the last thing I'll say is, now I forgot it. Yes, sorry. The team sites. When we say team sites, we have to try to take the word team site and remove the association that we have with SharePoint team sites. Saying team site does not mean the technology SharePoint team site. Team site should mean our teams have to work together. And that's what this experience is going to provide for us. And I'll let you go over the details. I see you have it open. Go for it.
Yeah, so I opened it up so you guys should be able to see it. One question that Dan asked in the group is Groups part of the Outlook desktop client yet? The answer is no. It's on the roadmap as far as I understand, but no associated date or anything like that, so it's all online. And Groups was a fun one with me. So Groups launched the same day at work when I was working with legal, HR, and marketing to complete a deliverable. And it rolled. And at the time they did this, I was like, well, dang it, if I had a group, this is exactly what I need. Because I can't get these people to go to a SharePoint site. It's a completely dispersed group of people that never are going to have to work together again. But we need this one little space with just some simple things. But I don't want to go out of Outlook. I don't want to go to all of these things. And I was like, man, I wish I could use that. And then since then, we also had another time just this last week on our team call, and so I've already said that, at Rackspace we use dedicated Exchange hosting that Rackspace is hosting, so, kind of eating our own dog food doing that. So we run our own Exchange servers. Of course. But we had a team call and we're like, hey guys, we need a way to quickly and easily email each other. We need to share a OneNote file, and we got to have a calendar that works. And we tried to do it on SharePoint team site, and nobody could use it on the team site because the calendar didn't really sync with Outlook. And they're like, so how should we solve this? And I'm like, groups, because it would work perfect. So I keep seeing like scenarios where groups will just come up and do it. And I love what you said about we need to stop thinking about team sites as a thing inside of SharePoint. We need to start thinking about a team and where is a team going to go work that makes sense for that team and who cares where it's at. Now, and that's where it gets fun. So I put a little chart in there and we can kind of go through that of when do I use a team site, when do I use Yammer, when do I use a group. Sometimes it matters. Sometimes the answer is whenever it makes sense, just, use it and see. I'm looking forward to all of the sessions at Ignite that are going to talk about groups because they have a very exciting roadmap. So I think it's going to evolve into even cooler things. But here, so we have a group homepage here. We've got files. I can go click on that, and that's going to be integrated with OneDrive. This is one of the things that when you talk about groups, you can't really talk about a technology because it just kind of is, right? Like it's everything. Go ahead, Ben. You were going to add something?
No, it's just that it's the thing that I find is going to be confusing for the next year or so. It's all these brands and these new words. And you jumped right into files, which I often leave towards the end because, I go over conversations. I'm like, look, you've got a little notebook for everyone to share, and then files, and then it brings you to your OneDrive, but it's not your OneDrive. It's actually a secret SharePoint side collection. And that confuses everything for me. So I saw you open that up, and I said, oh boy. But yes, it's OneDrive, but it's not OneDrive. It's very, very...
go against the other. Yeah. Thank you, Microsoft. Thank you. That's all we can say. Thank you. Let's make it more confusing. We'll go back to the happier things. So calendar, that's a lot happier. That is just...
Yeah, I was going to say, perhaps if we go back to your customer story, maybe they think they're using OneDrive, but they're actually using groups, and that terabyte is in their actual storage.
Oh, where's your stuff? It's just in the cloud. Who knows? I love it. What I love is, like, and what I wonder sometimes is, like, do we get more confused because all we do all day long is talk about all of these features, and we know, like, does the everyday person who's using this stuff, do they get as confused as we do when we start clicking around and we're like, hey, what, huh? And then we, like, go click buttons and try to dig around and see what it is, and it's like, where is this? I wonder if everyone gets confused as we do, if we're like a special breed of confused. I guess maybe not.
It's the French in me, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, Suzanne made it. Welcome, Suzanne. So yeah, people are too scared to click around. That's probably true. I might be a little more brave to click around and do different things. Is probably what happens. Yeah, and it's interesting, some of the things with groups, just even with, like, navigation and stuff like that. Like, you see I'm here in the calendar, and when I keep clicking it, like, I can't necessarily go back to the group. And, I mean, so there's still some usability things, that I think will improve over time as we go down to different things. But what's cool about it is you're not going into... Like, I can go anywhere and access my groups. I just have to go for the type of thing I'm looking for instead of having to go down to different places. Like, instead of having to go to this one area and then I can find everything there, I can just, natively go where I'm living and find what I need. So definitely some cool things there. Oh, we have another poll for groups. So Lyman, if you want to bring that one over, it'd be cool to get people's thoughts on what they think with groups and conversations and different things like that. I put together, okay, so you have got some amazing content, so I linked everyone to that about an article on groups, and I think you did a webinar kind of explaining it. I've got a blog posty thing explaining it, and then I put together a scenario chart of, I don't think this is good, bad, right, or wrong.
Very useful, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is just one of these good, bad, right, or wrong. This is how I was thinking about it when it came out. So I think that this would continue to evolve. That's a good question. So Dan had a question, and it's, can you include people outside of your tenant in a group? I think you can include them on, like, the conversations, but they don't get the same group experience. I don't know. Yeah.
So it would be on, they're not part of the group experience, but they will get conversations. You can have people outside, but what happens is, from my experience, is every time they answer, it's going to be a new thread. So they won't participate in the thread that you see in the group experience, but they will be able to be part of the whole group. And we've been using it in many different ways. Every time I have to write a new blog post, for example, I have a group for blogs, and people can chime in. I have a calendar of publishing. We have a guide that we want to release soon, so that's a group, and people join in, have a conversation, and if we need to talk with someone outside, we can share a file, we can share an email, but it's not the full experience.
Yeah, and so that's going to be an interesting one, because I think when we talk about experiences, what is so neat about every time I have a conversation with anyone about the experiences, they're starting out internal only. Video Portal is another great example. They're starting out internal only, and then the very first thing someone says is, "That's awesome! Now I want to share it with external people. How do I do that?" And the answer is, not yet. So that's an interesting one to see, because that could be a very powerful thing to have groups. Could have groups external. 100%. So I mean, I think they'll get there. I think they will get there. Let's talk about the confusion for
a little bit of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go for it.
So, like the integration points, what do you think about that, and how do you deal with but I can have a group, or I can have a Yammer group, or I could even create groups in SharePoint. How do you deal with that? What are your thoughts on that one?
Honestly, it's case by case for me, and I go with what usually people are most comfortable with, as long as they know all of the three. And right now, when people are already in Yammer, if Yammer has a really large adoption rate and people are using groups properly, I'll say, go ahead and continue Yammer. Just understand, that it's not there for document collaboration, right? As long as that's not the focus of the group that you're going to do, which is document collaboration with files stored in Yammer, then Yammer go all the way for now. Conversations a lot smoother still because groups conversations is really email right now. And they did talk about integrating the Yammer conversations there at an extra tab later on. But right now I'm really looking at it as, look, you have Yammer and continue there if that makes sense. But if you're talking document collaboration, then you got to go towards groups. And then when we're talking about SharePoint, for me, it's still, well, you need the full shebang. If that's an American expression, I don't know. But when you need the full thing, document libraries, you need workflows, you need metadata, because right now there's no metadata. You need retention policies, you need compliance, you need auditing, you need, the real stuff. I just saw that in the chat. I don't think that. But I think SharePoint right now is still the enterprise content management. All right, I'll get back to groups here.
I thought of the Ricky Martin song when you said that. Immediately I'm like, she bangs, she bangs, she moves. Ooh, ooh. Okay, you guys got a special treat. Jen Mason karaoke right there.
That was awesome. Lastly, is to really use groups for the lightweight group collaboration right now still, which is not enterprise content management. It's not a team with a bunch of libraries that have workflows that automate stuff, but really get something quick, work calendar, get started. Right. But there's some downsides that we can cover after if you have
definitely. Well, so it's interesting to me. So what I like to say is if you're using Yammer and Yammer is working and it's what's pushing it in your org, by all means, go to town. For SharePoint, when it comes to it, I would like to assume that I can actually start with a group unless I need something I can specifically name. I need a team site because of X. And then I'll go create a team site, list, library, some of those different more complex things. But I just like the simplicity of groups and seeing where they have those different pieces. And so I think they're great. I think they have an incredible future too. I'm hoping they'll get some of the things merged together, and I'm hoping there'll be less confusion over time. I do think there are some orgs that have they just have reasons that they need to turn one off over the other, but a lot of times maybe you could leave them open and kind of let them evolve, see what happens. So I'm super excited to see what will be coming with them and sharing those different things. Let's go back, and you were talking about some limitations, so maybe we can chat through some of those different limitations that you see.
Absolutely. It's limitations and more understand what you're working for. For me, Office 365 it's all about understanding these experiences and how far they can go before you jump in. And Office 365 groups, you have to know a few things. First, by default, anyone can create them. Anyone can create groups. What we don't realize is that the name of the group takes automatically the URL because it creates a SharePoint site collection. So the name of the group automatically takes up a site collection with that name. So that in governance aspects, if somebody creates a group called, I don't know, a demo or Pulse, and then later on you wanted to do a real SharePoint site collection called Pulse, that's not going to happen, right? So everyone can create. However, you should know that with PowerShell, there are ways to say who can create groups. So you can have some, group ambassadors or group ambassadors, groups and power users that will be in charge of, because they've got this Yambassador, right? Instead of Yammer ambassador. Hey, you get the idea.
Ambassador, yeah.
So so you have these people in charge of creating groups if you like, but by default, everyone can create groups. And on that same concept, you should know that anyone can see any group, right? So when you create a group, there's an option to say whether it's going to be private or it's going to be a public group. But regardless of whether it's private or public, everyone can see it. They just can't go inside of it if it's private. But if your name of your group is getting rid of X employee, whoa, that can be potentially bad. The other things are things like, what's it called? If you delete a group, it's gone. There's no recovering groups. It doesn't go to a recycle bin. That's it. So if all of your work was in there, I don't even know. I guess you'd call Microsoft, see if there's some kind of secret backup that you can get, and I'm not even sure that it's possible. There is a warning, but it's definitely something to be wary about right now. And then, of course, then you don't have access to the SharePoint site where the files of OneDrive are getting stored, which is an actual SharePoint site. You don't have access to it yet, right? So what's happening there? Do you want to turn on content approval? Do you want to So some things, but if I had $100 and you asked me where to put it, is it going to be a regular SharePoint team site or the future of groups? It is, I think. Who did that recently?
Every meeting I'm in lately, they're like, if you had $100, where would you spend it? I'm like, I'll put $100 in my pocket and go buy a nice glass of wine. Or bottle, not a glass. I mean, that's what I would do with $100. Screw SharePoint. Sorry. sorry. Okay, so if you had $100 to fix groups, what would you fix?
No. If I had $100, I would put it on Groups' future rather than staying on my regular team sites right now. Though they have perfect sense right now, enterprise content management, and I'm still using heavily team sites and SharePoint sites. But in the long term, if ever they turn on that access for me to go visit that SharePoint site that they create associated with each group, that's it. I'm in business. I'm a groups all the way. And $100.
And $100.
Thank you.